Someone You Should Know. A program about people you know, and even more that you don't. Hosted by Stuart Sax, veteran, husband, father, and grandfather. Now, here's your host, Stuart Sax.
Well, welcome to another edition of Someone You Should Know. This is going to be a show that I hope will hit the nerves of you, and I invite you to ask your friends and relatives and anybody who has children to be a part of this program, whether you're watching us live right now or afterwards when we post it on YouTube and all the other platforms. It's an important show. It's an important show about your children, and there are some very key words for this program. And the first key word is Centegix. And I want to invite the CEO of Centegix, Matthew Stevens, to the program to discuss what Centegix is and what Centegix does. Matthew, thank you very much for taking the time to be with us on this program, because we're talking about the safety of our school kids. And a lot of it stems from, we were talking earlier, going way back to Columbine, when a lot of these school tragedies started. But based on Parkland, Florida, which you and I both have a connection to, it led your company to develop what is going to be the cutting edge solution to first alert in school crisis situations. So Matthew, please tell our audience who you are and what Centegix is all about.
Well, Stuart, first of all, thank you for having me on the show. And
my pleasure.
I appreciate what you do. So Centegix innovates technology to save and enrich lives. And we protect school kids, a little over 1 million school children across the United States. Crisis Alert is our flagship product, and it's a wearable badge and a software platform that allows anybody to be able to call for help and, in fact, lock a school down with immediacy in the case of an emergency event.
And I think it's fair to say this is cutting edge technology, because ever since Parkland and some of these other instances, there has been questions. How can we lock down the schools faster? How can we notify the authorities faster so they can react faster? Let's face it, if a gunman walks into a school, he's not going to walk in with a 6-bullet pistol and all. He's armed to take lives. And whether he's sane or mentally deranged, that's his sole purpose. And he wants to do it quickly, and he wants to do it with as much efficiency as he possibly can. So, you know, when this all started, I remember growing up, we had fire drills, and we were taught what to do when you heard the fire drill. Well, now all of a sudden, our kids and our grandkids are getting lessons on what to do in active shooter situations, where to go, how to react to it, and all, which unfortunately we need. But still, there is that part. The teachers and the students can do so much to protect themselves, but how do you notify the authorities? You know, most schools may have a resource officer on staff that is going to be the first person on the scene. how do you get to those authorities in the most efficient and way possible? And I think that your product and all is going to be the answer, because the cell phone is a great weapon, but sometimes the reception in all points of a school is not good. Am I correct on that?
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And I just want to recognize something that you said a moment ago. I'm the father of 3 kids, and I like to begin with the why. I remember when my daughter, she was in pre-K at the time, came home and said, Daddy, we were practicing if the bad man came to the school and tried to shoot us, what we would do. And we turned the lights off and we hid underneath the desks. And it broke my heart. It's one of those moments as a parent that just gives you pause. And we've been in business Centegix for years, and we were reselling other technologies. And it was after Parkland that we realized, our customers were demanding something that didn't exist in the market. They wanted a solution to solve the problem of, violence in schools, even more than just active shooters, but violence in schools. Because let's face it, there are, domestic situations that spill over. There's internal problems with fights that can escalate and turn dangerous. And there was nothing in the market that really truly solved the problem. We first stepped out and tried to find something and realized that when it didn't exist, we started with a blank piece of paper and said, how can we actually solve the problem? We're technologists. We're not mental health experts. We can't solve the underlying societal problem of somebody wanting to kill a child, and we're not police officers, and we can't solve the kinetic side of it. But what we really understood was, with the physics of one of these incidences, there are things that we could do to save lives. FBI statistic, over 75% of the casualties are taken in the first 2 minutes of an active shooter event. Most of them last under 4 minutes, and the average police response time is 4.5 minutes in the United States. Now, those are just simple statistics, and that meant that we had to equip people to be able to recognize an emergency and notify everybody in an instant, and that is crisis alert. So, wearable panic device that empowers everybody with equitable deployment. So every teacher, every staff member, every administrator has the ability to call a code red lockdown and lock the school down. That's really important if you think about big high school campuses. When you understand it takes minutes to traverse a campus, if you can get people out of hallways and sequestered into rooms, or evacuating and moving out of the opposite end of a school, you have the ability to save lives. And the second really key component of that you also recognized, which is you have to put and notify the first responders with immediacy of what's happening. So our system integrates all the way to the PSAP to let the first responders who are not on property know and respond very quickly. But more importantly, there is a way to let the internal responders know. So it's the football coaches and the principals and the SRO know that there is a problem unfolding, because some of these incidences don't start as a mass shooting event. They might start as a dispute in the classroom that could escalate to a gun event.
And if I'm not mistaken, the advantage of the Centegix badge program is that it will also, assuming that a teacher hears that there is some commotion going on in the hallway, and it may be escalating, and whatever it is, could be a fight situation. When they press that button that is attached to their ID badge, it will also notify the authorities of the location. I think you said within 10 feet of where it is in the school. So as you say, these campuses where there's 4,000, 5,000, 6,000 students, it's a long piece of property from one end to the other. This will pinpoint where the problem is, so the authorities know to go there. Because the other 3 words that I want this audience to remember is your motto: every second matters. Remember those three words. Every second matters. So if authorities know exactly where they're going on campus, they can cut the response time down to neutralize the situation.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Another statistic derived from FBI data, there's a casualty every 8 seconds during a mass shooting event. So when we do our research and when we diagnose every incident that happens in a school, we recognize every time we can shave seconds off of the incident, we save lives, to be candid. And
you brought up a staggering statistic that most shooting incidents from start to finish are 4 minutes or less, but response time from authorities has been closer to 4.5 minutes or more. Well, if you do the math, folks, it's over by the time the authorities get there, unless there is a better system. And I think that you and your company have come up with a better system. Is it safe to say that the school systems that you have partnered with already, it's been kind of a no-brainer? They realize that this is a very advantageous. Right here in Texas, I think it's the Argyle school system that just most recently started to partner with Centegix to incorporate your system.
Yeah, that's exactly right. Argyle, San Antonio, and several other pretty significant districts around Texas. And kudos to the Texas legislature for looking at Alyssa's law as a model and applying that to your state. So yeah, we're proud to protect over 1,200 campuses throughout the United States. And that represents well over 1 million students. We really, location is so important, the location data. You touched on it earlier, as well as, the knowing that the call for help is going to be received. So we've responded to over 40,000 incidences through our platform, life to date. So those are everything from, it could be a child choking on a grape in the cafeteria. It could be a fight in the media center. A domestic dispute that spills over into the parking lot. And, several of those incidences have been with dangerous weapons, guns and knives. The ROI in our system really comes in the day in and day out. There's individual campuses, there are customers that have, on average are trending, 2 or 3 incidences per day. But it's the muscle memory of knowing, our brand promise of push button and help comes, that teacher really knowing and understanding when they have an incident, whether, a medical emergency in the classroom or, God forbid, the bigger type incident, that help is simply a button push away.
The Mark has put up the website, excuse me, Centegix.com. So you can check out the website. I don't know if it's possible, Mark. I think at the first thing that you posted up there, you have Matthew, you have about a 60-second promo for the Centegix product. And I don't know whether Mark, I don't mean to put you under the gun, but there's a very brief little right there in the middle of the screen. And if that's possible to run that, I'd love for the audience to be able to watch that, because it says what Centegix is about. But while he's working on that, and Mark, just go ahead and run it if you can. This all stems again from breaches. Can we do it?
Every school in Martin County had a security system, but the old one worked through the phone. So if something went wrong, a teacher or a staff member, well, first they had to find their phone, and they had to open the app, and they had to hope they had good signal. All of that takes time. This new system works in seconds.
The school district's director of safety and security showed us how the system works.
By simply repeatedly pressing this button.
This is a lockdown. Ensure all students are inside a classroom and the door.
It will set everything in motion.
This is a lockdown. This is a lockdown.
One button on one card. That's all it takes. It's called the Centegix Crisis Alert, and it's now installed in all schools in Martin County.
Every single staff member in our district has one of these cards, and if they see something, they can set this off and put the school in lockdown within seconds.
Maintain silence. Do not open the door.
The button triggers a flashing light and a recorded message,
Turn off the lights and move away from sight.
letting everyone know what to do.
Move everyone inside and lock all outside access points.
The button also sends an alert to not just the school district and the school resource officer, but to every police officer in the area. It's a cry for help that everybody will hear.
In our business, seconds matter. You want to get help there as quickly as possible.
The system also includes a way for administrators and police to sound the alarm for lesser emergencies, a potential danger outside the school, or a weather emergency. And what it's also done is give teachers peace of mind, knowing they have an easy way to call for help.
This system has been able to give us that gap in communication so that we can do our jobs, because unless the kids are safe, they're not going to learn.
It's very simplistic to use. It's very effective, and it gets the message out, and we get the help that we need.
Very, very impressive. And one thing that I might add, and you back me up on this if I'm correct, Matthew, is this doesn't mean that every school district has to close down and knock out walls and rewire their schools in order to have a system like this. That it is more cost effective than most school systems may realize. Am I correct?
Yeah, that's exactly right. And thanks for recognizing that, Stuart. We designed the system. Part of the benefit of designing something, world class from the ground up is you get to pick. And we designed it so that we could retrofit schools. In fact, we can install the average school in about 4 hours. Largely, wow. Yeah, exactly. Largely because we rely on some technologies that simply didn't exist 10 years ago. And allow us to be able to deploy very quickly. For us, our whole mission is to protect kids. So the more kids that we can protect, the better off we are as our measured mission. So we're really proud to be able to deploy very fast. And the economics of it, as well, we didn't want it to be a barrier to protecting kids. I recognize that the life we save one day might be one of my own children at their schools. And, it's unconscionable to not be able to protect kids, less than $1,000 per month to have, a full protection across an entire campus, empowering every teacher, every staff member, and every administrator with the badge. It's about what a school might spend on paper towels, but we get to protect kids for that price.
I wasn't even aware, but that seems like an extremely modest amount that certainly either school districts or PTAs can raise that kind of money in order to have the safety and protection of all the children in our school districts. I'm a part of me, I'm extremely happy that this technology exists. A part of me says, why is it taking so long for this to be addressed nationwide? Alyssa's Law was started by Make Our Schools Safe Foundation in Florida, in Parkland, Florida, as a matter of fact, by Lori and Alan Aladef, who, Mark, if you have a chance to put Alyssa's photo up. This is a beautiful young lady who I never had the opportunity to meet, but my niece was her best friend. They played soccer together. This is Alyssa Aladef, who was one of the first victims of the Parkland shooting. This picture was posted actually yesterday, which would have been Alyssa's 18th birthday. And that tragedy happened a little over 3 years ago. To date, only Florida and one other state, it just escaped me, have passed a law, Alyssa's Law. Nebraska and New York are now considering it, and thank goodness for Representative Sean Terry here in Texas. Alyssa's Law is on the floor to be voted on this session to pass Alyssa's Law. This is a law to protect children so that people like this beautiful young lady will never have to be a memory to their family. And that's what this Centegix product is all about, is making sure that this doesn't happen. Honestly, I'm getting choked up. So Mark, I'm going to ask you to take Alyssa's photo off because she's a dear soul, and I will do everything I can to make sure that legislators know that this isn't something just to sit and talk about. This is something to act on. We said earlier, Matt, that this is a no-brainer for our legislators. They all have kids, they all have grandkids, and to even the thought of discussing whether this is a viable solution for our schools is a waste of time. And your motto is every second matters. So I believe that every second matters in getting Alyssa's law passed on a national level is very, very much on the forefront right now.
Well, Stuart, you're exactly right. You know, there's if ever there has been, you know, an opportunity to pass legislation that certainly could, you know, curry favor on both sides of the aisle, this is it. I mean, who could stand against protecting children? It's you know, or the old adage that they're our future, right? It never holds more true than this. And you know, it's important that legislators, we all know that technology innovates faster than, you know, than legislative agendas can happen. And we're really thankful. You know, me as a parent personally, I'm very thankful that people are starting to look at technologies like this. It's a fairly nascent market. There are some other things that exist, largely built, you know, apps on cell phones. Not against cell phones. I have one. I just wouldn't trust it as a life safety device to protect my kids, especially when it takes 7 or 8 fine motor skills in order to action those. You know, you don't have signal everywhere inside of a building. We've all been somewhere where a call was dropped. And this is too important a thing to leave to a device that's, you know, probably better for email and social media scanning than it is a life safety device. You know, we're a purpose-built tool. We exist for one and only one reason, and it's to be able to protect kids. So yeah, you know, I'd love to see national legislation mandating solutions. I think some of the legislative initiatives that we've seen certainly are very good. I think Florida is a great role model for it. You know, where legislators try to pick winners and losers from corporate America, I think it's it goes a step too far. And we've even seen some of the legislation try to say silent panic alarms, which really is much more relevant in a bank than it is a school. You know, I'll tell you, we had an incident at one of our customers just earlier this week where two individuals with, you know, quote the head of security, nefarious intent, jumped a fence and came onto the school property. A teacher who was with students outside pressed the button, and the visual alerts of the strobe coupled with the PA system calling alert, 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 this is a lockdown, actually scared away the perpetrators that had nefarious intent, and they left the campus. So, you know, a silent alarm, if somebody breaks into a bank, they're looking for money. They're not looking to make the news because of casualties. If you break into a school, you're not looking for money. You're looking to make headlines. And the reality is, you know, legislators really need to let districts pick what's best for them, but simply mandate that something has to be done to, you know, to save kids' lives. And we think let the market decide what the best solution is.
Yeah, you mentioned the silent panic alarm versus what yours is called a crisis alert, and again, just expound a little bit about those differences. What is it about the crisis alert system? You just gave an example of it scared away the perpetrator, which is a victory beyond value. The package, what is that crisis alert system all about?
Yeah, absolutely. We call it deep multisensory notification. And one of the things that you have to remember, you know, if you think about a casualty every 8 seconds, you want people running protocols with immediacy. You don't want a silent alert. If you are 3 rooms down from somebody who walks onto a campus with a gun, you would of course want to know somebody with a campus on the campus has a gun. So we actually think silent is really dangerous in this situation, because silent can be ignored and it can be missed. Our approach is a deep multisensory notification. So we take over the PA systems and we give a very clear audible alert. Our Internet of Things devices also emit a tone that doesn't disrupt the PA system, but augments the PA system for a second factor of audible notification. So now I'm listening. But what if I have earbuds in, or what if I'm sitting at a testing machine with ear muffs on? We also do a deep visual alerting as well. So we take over any networked screens. This could be the menu board in the cafeteria, common area, televisions. It could be your, one-on-one testing machines or your iPads. And we reinforce that protocol that tells you what to do in this type of an emergency. Let's remember, there's a big difference between what you want to do in a tornado and what you want to do in an active shooter. In an active shooter, you want to be out of the hallways and you want to be in a dark room that the door is, closed and preferably locked or barricaded. In a tornado, you want to do the opposite thing. You want to move out of the rooms into the center plenum of the building. So we're also reinforcing that visual message with strobes color-coded to the type of an emergency. Because let's face it, you don't drill every single day about what to do. So you need these kind of multi-sensory notifications in order to ensure the best possible outcome. And the best possible outcome is notify everybody with immediacy, including your first responders, begin to take action, and deal with the situation.
And this also allows the schools that have a system like this to teach all of the students exactly what to do when they hear that kind of response. Because when they hear that audible going off, they know not to get up and run and all necessarily. If they are at the far end of the campus and they identified that, then those students can leave the campus. But if they are anywhere in the affected area, they know to get under turn off the lights, get under the desks, whatever the protocol is that's set up by Centegix and by the school system. And
that's exactly right. And I want to, I do want to say we use the school district's existing protocols. All we do is automate them and make it faster, right? Because faster saves lives. So you're exactly right. And muscle memory is really important in these cases. So we actually encourage the use of our system for drills. And this is what gets really interesting to administration, is then they have a compliance aspect that allows them to go back and say, listen, the state mandates that I do these drills on this, interval, and we're doing them. Here's our response times. Here's the closure rates on drills. And they can actually use that rich analytics data layer to make business decisions. So if you see, for instance, that a high school has more physical altercations than certain other high schools, you would deploy your limited number of resources to those particular schools. Or if you saw that there were more disproportionately medical incidences at one particular school, maybe you would dedicate a nursing staff specifically to that school. So the richness of the data that comes out of this helps us get smarter, and it helps us get better about the way that we manage and run our districts.
And we should say too that this is not a program that is being sold just to major city school systems. These incidences have happened in rural school systems as well as the major cities. So obviously, the cost factor is going to be greater maybe in a major city, but your program is just as applicable to that county school that maybe only has 400 students to the inner city schools that may have 4,000 students.
Yeah, you're exactly right. And we just our pricing model is really simple. We just price on a per site. So site to site, doesn't matter if you're a big urban district or a small rural district. We've got customers across the entire distribution. The average district in our country has 5.7 total schools. So the children that live in rural areas, no less important that they're protected. And incidences happen everywhere. You can't a choking incident or an altercation between two high school students. That's not strictly a thing that happens in one segment of America. And the real issue here is a broader societal issue, and it's not just schools. That's our over 90% of our customers exist in the K-12 space, but we're moving into higher education. We saw it in UVA several years ago. There's real possibilities of this happening in K-14 and in higher ed, as well as into the commercial market. We've all seen the news recently and seen the stuff spill over into government buildings, into areas of hospitality and entertainment, restaurants. It's a much broader societal issue, and we want to protect people everywhere.
Now, is the crisis alert product also available to corporate America too? I'm thinking most recently there was an incident at a FedEx facility in Indianapolis, so this might be adaptable to them. Is this also perhaps something that may be adaptable to corporations, say in hurricane-prone areas, that could alert people of a pending tornado or a pending hurricane, and the system will alert people to take action?
You're absolutely right. From a pure technology standpoint, our system is agnostic, whether it's protecting a classroom, a hotel room, or a boardroom. And we look at an incident like and it's terrible tragedy at the FedEx installation. My heart goes out, to the folks who are there, and the longer term, I think, mental health implications of something like that in corporate America. We don't even know what those are yet. But absolutely, our system could be used, to protect people regardless of the physical nature or the purpose of the building that they're in.
Centegix.com is the website, and I invite everybody that's watching and listening across the nation to check it out. Contact your local PTAs and your local independent school districts and say, at least visit this website and see what they're all about. Talk with your school administrators about, is this an avenue for us to consider? Also, am I correct that Centegix, this is not just one of many products that you develop? This is your bread and butter. This is your number one product. This is it, Stuart. We exist for a single purpose. I say a spork does a lot of things with mediocrity. We're not a spork. We don't do a lot of things. We do one thing and one thing only. We believe that we're best in the world at it. And the reason we're so passionate about what we do is we recognize the life that we might save might be one of our own children. This is it. Crisis alert in the platform, and we're solely focused on it. When did the research start to develop this panic alert system? Yeah, so it actually the beginning of the ideation actually went before Parkland, and I think Parkland was really the precipitating event that caused us to say we're all in on this problem. It's too big of a problem not to solve. Yeah, and that's 3 years, more than 3 years ago. So, it's a product that's in the development. And I guess it's safe to say that as time goes on, that technology may be tweaked and improved to even cut response time further. That's right. Yeah. We're looking at some really interesting technologies to automate and innovate onto our platform, and there are things that we can integrate with that are outside sensors that would allow us, without giving away too much, right? That would allow us to be able to take action much quicker. I think when we see that one of these tragedies unfold, we just ask a couple of simple questions: would our system have saved lives? And what can we do to our system to cause it to save more lives? Well, the example that you gave earlier about someone who jumped the fence in order to breach the building, the sound of the system scared them away, so they were not even able to penetrate that building. I mean, that is probably the best deterrent that's possible. So the system works not only inside the school, but it can work outside the school also.
We call it full campus coverage. Some of these incidents start on sports fields or in parking lots, and whether it's the teacher walking to her car in the dark, after the after school program, we want to protect her out in the parking lot. We want to protect the football coach out on the sports field when one of his kids goes down with a medical emergency. We don't want him to have to choose, is he going to render aid to the child, or is he going to go and get help? We want him to be able to do both contemporaneously and in an instant.
So I guess we should reiterate that this is not a system that is just used for an active shooter incident, that every employee in the school generally has an ID badge now, and this is something that is added to that system that they are already wearing. So that means that they are only a thumbprint away from activating the system. So like you said, if it's a small incident, just of a fight situation, or maybe a child is having a seizure or something, that this is a way to notify the authorities right away that there's a problem and to react to it.
You're exactly right. We're used in the market about 10,000 times for what we call the routine incidents versus a dangerous weapon incident. So 10,000 to 1 ratio. And it's really important. The equitable distribution of protection is really important. We want everybody to be able to realize our brand promise of push button and help comes. So big difference between the actions and the protocols that are taken between a choking child in the cafeteria and an active shooter, but our system protects against both.
It's an amazing system, Matthew. I just applaud you and your research team and everything for being able to come up with a product that, I'm sitting here just as the average Joe who is not very technology oriented, just saying, man, this is a great. It's a necessary evil, really. It was something that has been born out of bad situations, but that's how progress is made. When you take a situation, if you can eliminate that situation or lessen that situation by modern technology, it's worth the investment. And again, for our legislators, get off your butts, man. Support this Alyssa's Law nationwide, because this program works within the school systems, and it can work for independent school systems all over the country. And if you are a corporation executive, if you have issues within your corporations that might be addressed and made better with a strategic system like this, contact Matthew and his people to find out about it. What do you perceive as, the kind of the long range plan, 3 years, 5 years from now? Hopefully your system put into more schools will deter more of these incidences away from those schools. Then you will become total heroes, because instead of being the alert system, you've been the deterrent system.
Yeah, that's right. Listen, if I had a magic wand, I would set a very different wish for 3 or 5 years from now, right? That there just simply would be none of this. And I'd love to. I'm so proud of the team that we've got. They're amazing technologists. They're amazing business people. And they're amazing parents. And, are so passionate about our mission. We'd love to go solve a different problem if this one would just go away. In the meantime, we're going to continue to realize, our why, which is we're going to continue to innovate technology to protect and save more lives.
It's needed technology. It's really, when we think back to Columbine, that's probably when some of these ideas started. There's got to be a better way than picking up a cell phone. You mentioned the use of cell phones when Parkland happened, as well as some of these other tragedies have happened. The students, most of whom have cell phones, everybody's grabbing their cell phone. Everybody's calling out, texting their parents, texting the authorities. So this is going to kind of scatter the ability for signals to get through. and what you said earlier about this system is able to bypass the Wi-Fi internet part of it because it's a direct link. It's something that is above and beyond what we do at the ground level.
Yeah, that's absolutely right. We can't rely on the carrier networks, which we've all had a dropped call or not been able to open a web page quickly, especially in schools. Let's be honest, they're fairly environmentally harsh buildings,
Right.
and I just mean there's a lot of brick and steel, and cell phone signals don't always get through. And you're right, the Wi-Fi is generally open to the kids. And, when there's a fight, let's take it out of the realm of active shooter. When there's a fight in the hallway, the first thing that happens is everybody starts live streaming it on Facebook. So if you're the teacher who's about to get in the middle of that fight, that may not be just two people. It might be escalating into groups of people. You don't want to risk your life or the lives of other people. You want to de-escalate the situation, and you want to solve the problem. And more than anything, you want to know that somebody is coming to help you resolve that problem. So we simply can't rely on the existing infrastructure. We deploy a private safety and security network when we deploy our system, because lives are too important to trust to a mobile device that may or may not have a signal or that may or may not have a battery. And they're far too important to rely on the aging infrastructure that exists in most of our schools.
I hate to keep saying how simple this process really seems to be, because in the example that you just brought up, if a teacher is going to go out to try and diffuse some situation in the hallway, the ability for them to reach down for their badge and hit that button, then proceed to try and diffuse the situation, but also alerting the authorities that this may be escalating. Better to be safe than sorry, and be able to initiate this situation while you're waiting for it to end.
Most of the teachers unions that we work with are really appreciative that the superintendents, that the board, that the district is investing in their safety. So they really like this solution, because they're, what the district is saying is, we care about you, we care about the safety of the kids. But yeah, absolutely. If you're walking into a bad and potentially escalating situation, to know that somebody else is aware of the problem that you're having is a really big deal. And that's, extend that to the lone teacher out on the sports field with the elementary school kids. What if there's a medical emergency that prohibits that teacher from being able to go get help? This just empowers them to be able to call for help and solve a problem at the same time.
In your research at all, have you found that there may be state and federal funds available to these school districts in order to implement a system like yours?
Yeah, I think one of the things that's happened that's a real positive outcome, I'm always looking for the silver linings, right? A positive outcome of the investment through the CARES funding is in the ESSER vehicles that drive that CARES funding down to the state level, is a substantial amount of investment into local districts. So we're seeing that investment start to flow through. And the Centegix product suite is something that districts can look at for their federal and then state level granting that comes as a result of CARES through ESSER.
So it's not only a very, very valuable and needed system, but it also can be affordable for the school districts. And again, there is really no price tag that we can put on the safety of our children and our grandchildren. And again, every second matters. Folks, this has been a great program. I want to leave you with Centegix.com and all to check it out. Have your school systems check it out. I will also tell you to go to makeourschoolsafe.org to get more information and to support the passage of Alyssa's law nationwide. Matthew, I can't thank you enough for taking the time to be with me on the program this morning to tell about your company and the valuable work that you're doing to protect our kids.
Yeah. Stuart, thanks for carrying the message forward. I appreciate you.
And my pleasure. And folks, thanks again for tuning in. This will be posted, so if you didn't see it live, make sure that the proper people that you're connected with see this program and pay it forward. That'll do it for another edition of Someone You Should Know. As I always say, be yourself because everyone else is taken. Make it a good week and keep safe. Bye.